Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly felt like every single person was watching you? Your heart starts to race, your palms get sweaty, and your mind begins to overthink every tiny movement you make. You start wondering, what if I say something stupid? What if they think I'm awkward? What if I embarrass myself? That right there is the world of someone living with social anxiety. It's not just shyness or introversion. It's a constant internal battle between wanting to connect and being terrified of judgment. Social anxiety isn't just nervousness. It's a deeply rooted psychological experience that shapes how people think, feel, and behave in social situations. To understand people with social anxiety, we need to dive into the psychology behind it. Imagine your brain has an alarm system designed to protect you from danger. For most people, that alarm goes off when something truly threatening happens, like a car speeding toward you or a loud noise at night. But for someone with social anxiety, that alarm system is overly sensitive. It starts blaring even when there's no real danger, like during a simple conversation or while ordering food at a restaurant. Their brain interprets social interactions as potential threats, and their body responds with fear. Their heart beats faster, their muscles tense up, and their thoughts spiral out of control. At the core of social anxiety lies a deep fear of negative evaluation. These individuals constantly worry about being judged, rejected, or humiliated. Their mind runs endless simulations of what could go wrong. What if they don't like me? What if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me? This cycle of self-doubt and fear traps them in avoidance behaviors. They might skip parties, avoid answering phone calls, or stay silent in group conversations, not because they don't want to engage, but because the idea of being judged feels unbearable. Now let's go deeper into the emotional side. People with social anxiety are often highly self-aware. They analyze everything they do, their tone of voice, their facial expressions, even their posture. After any social interaction, they replay it in their minds again and again, searching for mistakes. Maybe they think, I shouldn't have said that, or they must think I'm weird. This overanalysis creates a feedback loop of shame and guilt. They want to be liked, they want to connect, but their mind convinces them they're not good enough. This excessive self-focus comes from a distortion in cognitive processing. Psychologists call it cognitive bias. For instance, someone with social anxiety might enter a room and notice one person yawning. Instead of thinking that person is just tired, they assume, I must be boring. This is known as mind reading, a tendency to assume others' thoughts are negative. Another bias is catastrophizing, where they imagine the worst possible outcome, like believing that stumbling over a word will ruin their entire reputation. These distorted thought patterns make the world seem hostile and dangerous, even when it's not. Social anxiety often starts in adolescence, a period when social approval feels like everything. A person might have experienced bullying, rejection, or embarrassment at a young age, and those experiences become deeply encoded in their memory. The brain learns to associate social situations with pain or danger. Each time they face something similar, that old memory reactivates, triggering the same fear. The amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting threats, becomes hyperactive. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, which helps rationalize and calm the mind, often loses control. So even if a person logically knows that nothing bad will happen, their emotional brain screams otherwise. Social anxiety doesn't just affect the mind, it affects the entire body. When anxiety hits, the body releases adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones. These chemicals prepare the body for fight or flight, but since there's no real danger to fight or flee from, the person is left trembling, blushing, or sweating uncontrollably. Their voice might shake, their hands might feel cold, and their stomach might twist in knots. These physical symptoms then feed the fear even more. They think everyone can see I'm nervous. They must think I'm weird. In reality, most people around them don't even notice, but the anxious brain refuses to believe that. One of the most painful parts of social anxiety is loneliness. People with this condition often crave connection deeply. They want friends, love, and understanding, but fear stops them. It's like being trapped behind a glass wall. You can see everyone, you can hear laughter, you want to join in, but you can't push through. Over time, Isolation can lead to sadness, depression, and even feelings of worthlessness. They start believing that they're inherently flawed or unlikable, when in truth, it's the anxiety, not their personality, that creates the barrier. The psychology of social anxiety also involves perfectionism. Many socially anxious people set impossible standards for themselves. They believe they must always say the right thing, look confident, and never make mistakes. The moment they feel they've fallen short, they punish themselves mentally. This perfectionism doesn't motivate them. It paralyzes them. It turns simple interactions into high-stakes performances, where failure feels like disaster. What's fascinating is that people with social anxiety are often incredibly empathetic and observant. They notice small details others might miss: the tone of someone's voice, a shift in body language, a subtle expression. This heightened sensitivity can be both a gift and a curse. It allows them to connect deeply and understand emotions, but it also makes them more vulnerable to perceived rejection. They can sense the slightest disapproval and instantly spiral into self-blame. When we look at social anxiety through the psychological lens, we also see how it interacts with self-esteem. Many people with social anxiety have an inner critic that constantly tells them they're not good enough. This inner voice might sound like a harsh parent, a bully, or even society itself. It repeats messages like, "You'll embarrass yourself," or "People don't like you." Over time, this voice becomes so loud that it drowns out any positive self-talk. Breaking free from that voice is one of the hardest battles they face. Let's imagine a simple example. There's a young man named Alex. He wants to join his coworkers for lunch, but his mind starts racing. What if they don't like me? What if I have nothing to say? He decides to stay at his desk instead. Later, he regrets it. He feels lonely and disappointed. But the next day, the same fear returns, even stronger. This avoidance pattern reinforces the anxiety. Psychologically, avoidance provides short-term relief but long-term damage. Each time Alex avoids a social situation, his brain learns that avoiding equals safety. That makes it even harder to face future situations. This is known as negative reinforcement, a key mechanism in anxiety disorders. There's also a strong link between social anxiety and self-consciousness. People with social anxiety constantly monitor themselves from an outside perspective, as if a camera is following their every move. They see themselves the way they think others see them: awkward, nervous, inadequate. This observer perspective makes them feel disconnected from the actual moment. Instead of being present in the conversation, they're stuck analyzing their own behavior. This over-monitoring amplifies anxiety and prevents genuine connection. But here's the truth. Most of the fears that socially anxious people carry exist only in their mind. The world isn't judging them nearly as harshly as they think. Psychology calls this the spotlight effect, the tendency to overestimate how much others notice or care about our mistakes. In reality, everyone is too busy thinking about themselves to analyze others in detail. But the socially anxious mind can't easily accept that. It's trained to expect rejection, even where none exists. Understanding the psychology of social anxiety also means recognizing that it's not a choice. People don't decide to be anxious. It's a mix of genetics, environment, and learning. Studies show that social anxiety runs in families, partly due to inherited temperament. Some people are naturally more sensitive or cautious, and if they grow up in critical or overprotective environments, that sensitivity can evolve into anxiety. Traumatic social experiences, like bullying, public humiliation, or rejection, can also act as triggers. Once established, social anxiety tends to persist because it feeds on itself. The more a person avoids, the stronger the fear becomes. However, psychology also offers hope. Our brains are flexible. Through therapy, self-awareness, and gradual exposure, people can retrain their minds. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is one of the most effective treatments for social anxiety. It helps individuals identify their distorted thoughts and replace them with realistic ones. For example, instead of thinking everyone will laugh at me, they learn to think, most people are focused on themselves, not me. Slowly, they test those beliefs in real life, discovering that their fears are exaggerated. Over time, the brain learns that social situations aren't dangerous, and the anxiety weakens. Another powerful tool is self-compassion. People with social anxiety often treat themselves harshly. But healing starts when they learn to be kind to themselves. Self-compassion doesn't mean ignoring mistakes. It means understanding that everyone is imperfect and worthy of connection. When they shift from self-criticism to self-acceptance, the fear of judgment begins to lose its grip. Mindfulness also plays a key role. By staying grounded in the present moment, socially anxious individuals can break the cycle of overthinking. Instead of analyzing what others might think, they focus on what's actually happening. Breathing exercises, meditation, and grounding techniques help calm the nervous system and reduce the body's fight or flight response. The more they practice, the more control they gain over their mind's reactions. The journey of someone with social anxiety isn't easy. It takes courage to face fears that feel overwhelming, but every small step counts. Every conversation, every moment of vulnerability, every time they speak up, it's an act of bravery. People with social anxiety are not weak. They're fighting invisible battles every day. Their struggle may be silent, but it's real. And when they push through, even just a little, it's a victory worth celebrating. Psychologically, social anxiety reminds us how powerful our thoughts can be. The same mind that creates fear can also create freedom. The key lies in awareness and growth. When a person starts understanding why they feel the way they do, they gain the power to change it. Awareness turns confusion into clarity. Over time, they learn that confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about accepting themselves, flaws and all. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson the psychology of social anxiety teaches us. That fear of judgment fades when we stop judging ourselves. When we realize that everyone has insecurities, everyone fears rejection, and everyone struggles to belong, we begin to see that we're not alone. The mind that once felt like an enemy can become an ally. The voice that once said "you can't" can be transformed into "you can." So if you're someone who feels this anxiety, who overthinks every social moment, know this: you're not broken, you're human. Your brain learned to protect you in the only way it knew how, but you can teach it something new. You can teach it that people aren't enemies, that mistakes don't define you, and that you deserve connection just like anyone else. The journey is slow, yes, but it's real. Each time you face your fear, you rewrite your story, and that story is one of resilience, growth, and courage. The psychology of people with social anxiety isn't just about fear, it's about strength hidden beneath that fear. It's about the quiet ones who feel deeply, who think deeply, who want to connect but struggle to express it. It's about learning to see themselves not as flawed, but as evolving. Because in the end, every anxious thought is just that, a thought. And thoughts can change. When they do, the world starts to feel safer. Conversations become lighter, and life becomes more open. Social anxiety may shape someone's mind, but it doesn't have to define their life. The courage to understand it is the first step to overcoming it.